So today, you all, I am outside planting some sweet corn. This right here is my bodacious sweet. And I've already planted that first double row right here in this large, long raised bed right here. And I'm calling it a raised bed because it is elevated, right? It's an elevated bed. And you all know how we did that. If you didn't see that, I will just post the videos of how we have pulled this garden together literally this year, and we're planting in it this year. Okay, so now what we have done in this bed, you all, our soil is primarily sandy soil. And if you all remember us talking about how we use our chickens as composters and how we harvest their composted chicken manure once every single year, and I dare say we get a couple of tons, maybe about a ton or so. That's a guesstimate, okay, but we get a lot, if not a ton, very close to it. Okay, so what we have done is that we, maybe a month or so ago, we came in and we added in the chicken manure to these beds, right? And we worked it into our sandy soil, so they've just kind of been sitting just like this. And so now I'm getting ready to plant. You saw me add in some feather meal, which is another source of nitrogen. You also saw me add in some bone meal, which is a source of phosphorus. Okay, and so now that we've added that, and I had the garden hoe and I've worked those fertilizers into the soil. These are organic fertilizers, so they will not burn my crops. But you do want to work them into the soil. You don't just want them laying on top. The only thing really it'll do is kind of cake up on you. And once it cakes up on you, it's not going to benefit you. So you want to make sure that you work it into the soil. And then I'm going to go ahead and get my seeds planted. I'm planting my corn about every 8 inches or so, roughly. I'm not actually measuring. I'm just kind of guesstimating. I'm eyeballing it, okay? So it's going to be roughly 8 inches apart, my corn seed. And another thing you might be able to tell is that I dug these out in trenches, right? Why trenches? Why trenches for the corn? We have found that planting our corn in trenches works phenomenal. Corn has what I'm going to call feet, okay? And they like to reach down and grab a hold of the soil. And sometimes when the wind blows, it can rock that and perhaps even loosen that up a bit, and could even blow it over, like out of the soil. All right, so what we do is we dig it in trenches. We dig the rows out in trenches, drop in our seed, and we cover them with about 1 inch or so of soil. Now as the corn grows, we can come back and pull from the trenches. Okay, see here, pull from the trenches here and here, or here and here, pull from the trenches, and we can bury the root system even more. And what it does is just, it adds some extra stability to our corn. Planting them close together also adds some stability, and it also helps with the pollination of the corn. As you know, when corn grows, it starts to do what is called tasseling. It has all these beautiful little tassels, right? But each one of those tassels represent a kernel of corn, and each one of those tassels must be pollinated, and they pollinate each other with or using the wind. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead now and get our seeds planted, and then I'm going to come back and just gently cover the seeds with about 1 inch or so of soil, and then I'm going to cover my rows. I'm going to cover my rows. Earlier, when I was planting the first row, I had to run and get the camera because I had a crow observation team watching me in this tree right here, right? a nice crow observation. They were all up there having a conversation about, oh, she's planting corn, right? So when I ran and get the camera to kind of film them up there, when I was running back, they started flying off. So what I'm gonna do now, now that I know they have gone to get their friends, I'm gonna go ahead now and just put some cloth over this. Either it'll be the shade cloth or it'll be bird netting, but something to make sure that they don't come in here and dig up my seeds, okay? Also, you all, we are gonna put this on drip irrigation. I am not gonna be watering this by hand, all right? Trust me, the larger your gardens get, you wanna have an irrigation system in place. Even if it's a small garden, sometimes the heat is just so great that it helps that you put them on drip, especially if you don't want to be out in the heat watering them every 3 or 4 days, right? So the irrigation setup will help, all right? So what I'm gonna do is just go ahead and get this corn planted, you all, so y'all stay tuned. Let's get this bodacious sweet is what I am planting. I had some peaches and cream corn that I started in trays, right? I was starting them in trays. I love to start my corn seed in trays. However, when I started them in the trays, that didn't work. I think the peaches and cream, the seed was probably a little too old to germinate. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my chances on dropping the seed. I didn't soak it because we're supposed to be getting a storm here later on this evening. So I figure, well, I'm not gonna soak it, but I do know when these should be up, right? And I am gonna still start some in trays, right? Because I've only planted the first 2 beds, each bed containing 2 rows, all right? So I've only planted 4 rows so far. I still have 4 more to plant, but these will not be planted for another 2 weeks. So instead of planting seed in these other 2 rows or 4 rows, I'm going to be transplanting, all right? So let me go ahead now and get this show on the road. First row planted, 1 more row to go. Okay, now I have all of the corn dropped in, and now I'm just gonna go back and I'm just going to cover the corn with the soil. I'm gonna tamp the soil down over the corn just to make sure that I have good soil to seed contact, okay? All right, so let me go ahead and get that done now. I love how many dragonflies are out here. I mean, we have dragonflies I'm looking at about 10 of them right now. They're just everywhere and I'm just loving it. I love dragonflies, especially in the garden. So let me go ahead and get these covered, and then y'all, we're gonna wrap it up. All right, that's gonna do it. 4 rows of corn planted. I did have to do some weeding in these beds because the weeds have started to grow back since we first came out here and formed these beds. And we put in trenches initially, but the weeds have grown. So now I'm gonna have to go back for the last 2 beds and weed those as well. I'm not gonna do it today There's no sense in doing it today. I'll just wait until I get ready to plant. That way I could do it all at once, okay? So it's going to be another couple of weeks, you all, before I get out here and do that. So, or maybe a week or so prior to planting, I'll probably come out and do it. That way I don't have to do it while I'm planting, okay? But that's gonna do it. That's pretty much how we plant our corn and grow our corn, y'all. So I really hate that the seeds did not work out in my little seed starting trays, but that's okay. Sometimes you have to pivot, right? And so that's what I did. And so now just direct seeding these, I'm gonna water them in, and then I'm gonna put some netting over this because I do not want the birds to come out and scratch all of this up and just eliminate all of the hard work. I may put the white row cover over it, is what I may do, because then their little claws won't be able to get through that at all. Their little feet, they will not be able to do it like they probably would with the netting if I just lay it down. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put the row covers and just lay it over the top after we get the drip in place, and then that's going to do it. We'll just be watering these. These have already been fertilized, as I mentioned earlier, but I am going to come back once these emerge. I planted about 2 or 3 seeds every 8 inches or so. And once they start to emerge, I am going to thin those 2 or 3 seeds to 1 seed every 8 inches. And that way it won't be like a lot of overcrowding. I do want to get corn. So I don't want to overcrowd one little space, okay? So I'm going to thin them. But I did plant multiple seeds because in the past, every time we've planted corn seed directly, we deal with either ants, squirrels, birds. We deal with a lot with trying to keep the seed in the ground, okay? So I planted multiple seeds. So hopefully all I'll have to do is come out and thin this and not have to worry so much about, is it gonna be spotty, right? I wanna make sure. So again, Bodacious sweet corn is a hybrid. It's not a genetically modified corn seed, it's just a hybrid. So is Peaches and Cream. You do have some heirloom varieties that are out there as well. So if you do want heirloom variety corn, you can definitely get that, okay? Now, on our seed shop, we do have a heirloom or open pollinated corn seed there. So if you do want to use that, the link that I'll post in the description or the comments below, feel free to go over and have a look at our little seed shop, and you can order your corn seed from us, okay? But I planted this Bodacious Sweet, reason being it's because when we planted the Bodacious Sweet corn, we planted Bodacious Sweet, Peaches and Cream, and there was another variety that we planted, okay? The Bodacious Sweet by far outperformed all of the other corn that we were growing. It grew faster and the corn was absolutely delicious, right? We enjoyed it the most. So that's the corn seed that we are planting in this area. There are no other corn crops around us, nowhere, you know, not for a great distance, at least a great distance, okay? So I'm not worried about cross-pollination here on the homestead. You know, this is cattle back here, right? And then we just have fields, and that's pretty much it. We don't have corn crop growing around us anywhere that I'm aware of, okay? So y'all, that's gonna do it for this video. Hopefully you found it helpful. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share the video. Also hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos that we upload to our channel. Don't forget to join us over on Instagram. We are now posting more on Instagram. At least I'm trying to. My daughter says, you need to be more active on Instagram. That's where the in crowd goes. I'm like, really? I didn't know. my granddaughter. So I'm like, okay, I'll try to pick up with Instagram a bit more. Okay, so y'all, that's gonna do it for this video. Thank y'all so much for watching me here at Homestead Heart. Peace and blessings to each and every one of you. And remember, y'all, it's that time of the year where we are growing our groceries. So remember, grow your groceries. I'm gonna see y'all in the next video.